So we just pulled into Mondello Park, one of the homes of Irish racing. Never been here before, and then I'm about to embark on something a little different, a little more nerve-wracking. 16-year-old Alex Dunne is a Formula 4 driver from Offaly, currently tearing things up in the UK, and potentially a future Formula 1 driver from these shores. He's going to give me a spin in a couple of the supercars around this track, and I'm very nervous. Shouldn't have eaten that Goujon roll, shouldn't have had that second cappuccino. Let's hope I can keep it all inside, I guess, in the next hour or two. Nice and warm. I'm not nervous at all. Maybe now a little bit. Woo! Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Oh, that was class. Woo. Yeah. All right, delighted to be joined here in Mondello Park, my first time in Mondello Park, by Alex Dunne, Formula 4 driver from Offaly. Alex, how are you keeping?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm sweating, and anyone on the camera will notice that I'm sweating because I'm after doing a couple of laps here with you, and yeah, let's just say it was hairy. But you're well used to it. You're a man with plenty of years' experience behind the wheel. Although you're only 16, isn't that right?
Yes, I'm only 16.
How many years have you been driving for?
I started racing at the age of 9.
Age of 9?
Yep.
Are you one of these, like a lot of the, I suppose, Formula 1 drivers at the minute, they're the go-karting background? You know, Lewis Hamilton is one with a bit of karting background. Are you the same kind of sphere, or how did you get started?
Well, originally I kind of got into motorsport. My dad was a racing driver. My mum worked here in Mondello, so that's how they met. So motorsport's always been in the family. And yeah, like I said, my dad was a racing driver, so I've always been around racing. You know, I was always with my dad supporting him and always watching him race. So, you know, I was kind of always had an interest in it. And then I remember, I think at the age of maybe 7 or 8, I asked him if I could ever go in a kart because I knew a couple of other people that were in it at the same time. So I asked him if we could try karting, and he said yeah. And then from the first time I ever did it, I begged him if we could go again and again. Then I think at the age of 9 is when I first started racing.
And did you have Formula One heroes growing up? Was it something you watched all the time on the TV, or was it just the interest solely through your dad, I guess?
Well, I mean, mainly through my dad, but I'd always watch the Grand Prix with him. He always watched Formula One, and I would watch it with him. So I've kind of always had an interest in motorsport as a whole since a young age. And then when I got the opportunity to give it a go when I was 9, that's kind of then when I started.
You're involved in Formula 4 at the minute, so you might just explain to people at home who don't really know the difference between Formula 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and Formula 4. Like, what's Formula 4 and how does it compare to the Formula 3 and 2 and 1 cars, for example?
Well, Formula 4 is basically the bottom point of the ladder to Formula 1. So like you said, you have Formula 4, Formula 3, Formula 2 and then Formula 1. So Formula 4 is basically a lower spec, a little bit less downforce, less power. Kind of, as you go up the ranks, everything gets a little bit more, a little bit quicker. You have more downforce as you go up the ladder. Everything gets a little bit harder. So it's kind of like the bottom ladder, the bottom point of the ladder for single-seater racing to get to Formula 1 for people from the age of 15 to whatever.
And you're obviously tearing it up at the minute in Formula 4. I think you've sewn up the Formula 4 British Championship already. Like, that's a huge achievement, especially for someone of your age. You must be buzzing to get the win, but you strike me as the type of fella who's already probably thinking about the next thing.
Yeah, I feel in a non-cocky way, I feel kind of at this point of my career, I'd like to say that I feel like this is what I should be doing. I think we've always shown the ability and the talent throughout. It was just kind of polishing a few things off and getting, I guess you could say, some of the bad luck out of the way. So I think that's kind of now that's kind of gone. I feel like the results we're getting, they are great, but I feel like it's almost what I should be getting. So I think, yeah, obviously I'm over the moon, but now I'm kind of thinking about what we're going to be doing next year and the year after. So I'm always thinking ahead.
I think when I was your age, I was in transition year in school, possibly, but like for yourself, it's not a normal childhood upbringing, obviously being involved in this game. But is it homeschooling, or how do you get that aspect sewn into your life as well?
I think I did my first year of secondary school, and then I became homeschooled. I guess this year you could say I've taken a year off of school because it's so hard to fit everything in. At the start of the year, I did 6 weeks racing in the UAE. And then with the dual campaign, Italian and British F4, at one point this year I was racing 6 weeks back to back between the two championships. So right. I've never really, this year at least, I haven't really been home that often. I think I was testing there a week and a half ago in Setterton, and then I went straight from Setterton to Ferrari, and then I went from Ferrari to Silverstone, and then I went from there to here. So I think last night was the only time I've been home in 2.5 weeks. So it's tricky in that sense, but I love what I'm doing, so it's no problem.
The Ferrari, you mentioned Ferrari as well. I know you've been picked as one of their academy drivers. Like, maybe explain to us what that means for you. It's obviously a massive achievement because not many drivers get picked for that. But what does it mean for you now?
It's great to see that I'm getting the recognition and I'm being watched for my talent, and that people are recognising that and people are watching me, which is a really nice feeling. I think I think this year we've had some really good results, like you said, with the British F4 Championship and breaking the record for the most wins in a single season, and being third in Italian F4 at the moment as well. So I think it's good to see that they're watching me, but like I said, I feel like it's something that should be happening now, and I think if the results keep on coming, I don't see why other people wouldn't be knocking on the door as well.
Do you ever get sick of that winning feeling of winning races?
No, never.
It's only like, it's not a cheap industry in which to climb the ladder. So is it a case now where you're always on the hunt for sponsors and the people to help you out financially in terms of climbing that ladder, as you say? Yeah,
we're always actively on the look for new financial support and for sponsors. We have Harris is one of our main sponsors, and they've been really, really helpful to me, and that's what we're here today for with them. So they've really helped me out a lot. I think without them I probably maybe wouldn't even be in F4 anymore. So I think sponsors are a really, really important part in motorsport. I think because it's so expensive. I think hopefully one day it'll pay off and it'll work out. But yeah, sponsors and financial support and financial backing is really, really important.
like you've been noticed. I know you're involved with the US team, and Ralf Schumacher is another name who's already noticed you. That Schumacher name is reasonably famous, I think, in the world of motorsport. But like, what does it mean to be recognised by the likes of Ralf and former drivers themselves who clearly recognise something in you?
It's pretty incredible. I think to see that people are watching me and that they believe in me and that they think I'm good and they can recognise my talent, I think is a really nice feeling. I think it's great to see that people are watching me, and it's a really nice feeling.
Did you have any words of advice from your dad, Noel, growing up? I know he's someone with a strong background in racing as well. I know he's your manager now too. So, what was his advice? I'm sure it's keep the feet on the ground for starters. But like, what sort of things has he said to you to kind of get you started?
Well, I think I wouldn't. There's not necessarily advice. He's always been my mentor. You could say through the ranks of karting, and when I started off in cars, he was my driver coach as well because he was racing. So he has a really good insight into the sport, not only from the other side of the fence, but also from this perspective of driving a car. So, I think in both ways he helps me out quite a lot. I think he's probably one of the reasons that I adapted to F4 so quickly, because he had a really good insight and was able to help me quite a lot. So I think that's really beneficial for me. So yeah, he's been with me every step of the way.
I remember doing an interview once with Ken Doherty, the former current snooker player, I guess, former world champion. And he talked about going over to the UK when he was younger and having to essentially leave Ireland in which to excel at the sport he picked. Has it been something similar for you? I know that the motorsport scene in Ireland is relatively small compared to the UK. So was it a case of get over there as quickly as possible and start just racing as young as you could?
Yeah, I think we only did 1 year of racing over here, and I think kind of halfway through that year, towards the end, is when we kind of started to realise that maybe I was pretty good. So. We won pretty much everything over here, and then we decided, okay, where to next? And at that time, in the class I was racing, which was Miami Cadet UK, was the highest level. So I did 2 years over there, and then I finished second in the British Championship. And then we were thinking, okay, where's the next level? And then that's when we went to Europe, and I raced over there for 3 years, and then we went to cars. So we're always looking at where to race at the highest level, because I think that's kind of to make a career and to get to the top, you always have to be racing against the best, and that's what we always look to do and look for. So yeah.
Has there ever been any fear in the car? Like, do you ever get into a car and feel afraid? Like, it's probably at this stage like riding a bike for you, but has there ever been any nerves at any stage in your career?
Maybe when I first started, or maybe the first time I ever drove a racing car, but no, not really. I think when you start having fears and worries and doubts about, if I do this I could crash, or what would happen if I do this, I think that's when stuff starts to go wrong. I think if you're on a qualifying lap pushing the limits and you're afraid about crashing, something's going to go wrong. So I think you kind of have to try and get rid of those thoughts.
I've been over at Spa before myself just to watch an F1 race, but I know we've talked before about that being a track that you particularly like. What's it like to race on those Formula 1 tracks as opposed to maybe the smaller tracks in the UK? Yeah,
it's pretty incredible. I really like Spa. I think I've gone pretty well there. So, it's been a good track to me, and I really enjoy driving it. Driving on the bigger tracks is really good. Also because, as you move up the ranks to F3 and F2, it's good knowledge to already know the tracks before you've even started racing there. So I think majority of the tracks that you'd race at in F3 and F2 I've been to already. So it's a really good starting point for me to have an insight on what I'm going to be racing.
Finally, Alex, I know you've been testing for F3 cars in recent weeks as well, but what's the ultimate ambition here? Is it to get to that? I think it's maybe Eddie Irvine is the last Formula 1 driver from Ireland. So is the ambition to get there and get one of those 20 seats on the F1 paddock at some stage?
It definitely is, yeah.
Well, best luck.
Thank you very much.
I hope you achieve it. I think you're on the right road. You've got the head for it, and congrats on the British Formula 4 Championship as well.
Thank you very much.